Welcome back to Yankees Spring Training presented by your local Ford stores. Legacies are proven on the field. Start yours in the legendary Ford Bronco, the official SUV of the Yankees. On a picturesque night here in Tampa, Florida, with Joe Vasile, Stephen Cusumano, and we're pleased to be joined by the manager of the AA Somerset Patriots for 2026. That would be James Cooper. Coop, thanks for joining us.
Good evening, guys. I'm happy to be here, man. Appreciate it.
Well, you are also the bench coach for this spring breakout game, joined alongside Aaron Bossy, and we were just talking to him about the Manager Olympics and the fact that you outbenched everybody. How does that feel?
It feels good. You know, it put me back in the race and gave me a chance to, finish strong in that competition. But fell short to a really good dude.
I know obviously we've got Kyle Carr pitching here tonight. He had a front row seat to his special season in Hudson Valley last year. Just what's it like kind of getting a chance to see him now after kind of being along for the ride of last year with him?
Man, it was pretty fascinating to see, especially when you look at the rotation that we had there. All the guys were, different than in their own right. But, watching Kyle be one of the guys that, didn't miss a start for us, posted, every time when it was time for him to go out there, and pretty much had a solid outing, every time that he was out there on the mound. And, of course, he earned a, promotion to Somerset, which, catapulted him to getting a big league camp invite this past year.
John Heel smokes one foul. Coop, I got to think that this has been so fun for your career to progress one level at a time, right? Where you're starting in the Florida Complex League, you manage in Tampa, then you go to Hudson Valley last year. You're kind of moving along at the same pace the players are. How gratifying is that to see them mature and grow as players and as people the same way that you are as a manager?
Well, the Yankees are in the business of developing players and coaches. And, I fall in that line where they are developing coaches. And I'm excited for and appreciative for all the opportunities they've been giving me thus far. And just trying to help, develop our players and get them where they need to be, and that's in the Bronx.
Yeah, and one of those players you've been with going back to the complex was, George Lombard Jr.
Mm-hmm.
You get to work with him potentially again this year in AA with Somerset. But what has it been like to watch George mature as a player and as a person over the couple of years that you've gotten to be his manager?
Well, I think if you look at the person that he is, that's an 80th grade character in George Lombard. His family did a really good job raising him, and he did a really good job of listening and applying those things that they taught him along the way. And we've been able to benefit from that as an organization. And looking at how his body has changed, how he's gotten bigger, faster, and stronger, and it's leading to watching him develop and from the head up has just been really fun to watch.
John Heel draws the walk with nobody out here in this fourth inning. In the spring breakout game, Stephen Cusumano and Joe Vasile chatting with James Cooper, the soon-to-be manager of the Somerset Patriots at AA, and the previously manager of Hudson Valley Renegades, the high A team of the Yankees last year. And Coop, there's so many players in this game, looking at the infield specifically, guys like Core Jackson, Caden Kent, and of course Dax Kilby, new to the organization. You got to spend some time with that first group of infielders I was talking about. What were your first impressions of these guys new to the organization, already spending time in the advanced levels of the A-ball part of minor league baseball?
Well, they showed their flexibility. We've already had a couple of position changes, as you can see here, from Kent bouncing to third and now Core bouncing to short. I was able to see that firsthand in Hudson Valley this past season, and I think the sky's the limit for what they're able to do. Like, we got a ball on the field.
You want to double it up?
So just looking forward to seeing how these guys can develop and to see which position allows them to showcase their skills for us and also put them in a really good position to succeed, but ultimately put us in a real good position to win games depending on what level that they're at.
We've talked about a little bit since a couple innings ago, that throw that Brando made a couple innings ago. Just how impressive has he been to get to see a little bit this spring training over the last few years?
Yeah, that was a really good throw by Brando. That's one of his best ones I've seen, I can tell you that. And when that ball was hit, I was thinking that guy had first to third, pretty much, easily. But he made that way closer than I thought it was going to be. So, hats off to Brando for it. And, hats off for to our outfield coaches who's been working with him to try to get him to, develop the skills that he had so, we can get him ready for his next step.
Coop, talking more about some of the positional groups with this team. We've talked infield, we've talked outfield. Catchers are so young in this organization right now, and looking at somebody like Ediel Rivera behind the plate as Lodis drives one into right field. That'll dunk down for a base hit. Hill gets to second base. Throwing behind him. They almost were able to catch him at second base. But a couple base runners on to start this fourth inning. Catchers in this game still so young in the Yankee system, and you've gotten a chance to see some of them because of the progression you've made up the system. What can you say about some of the guys that the Yankees have cooking in the lower levels?
Yeah, man, it was exciting to get Engel Urania to, be promoted to Hudson Valley this past season. He done a good job at Hudson Valley, and, he earned that promotion. And he came up and finished the tail end of the season with us and, had a chance to, play in some very meaningful games. As we was trying to punch our playoff ticket as we were going head-to-head with Greensboro this past season. And, you talk about another young catcher, the guy that we have in right now, Ediel Rivera. You see some of the throws that he's made, the second base. And, I think the sky's going to be the limit for guys like that. And as long as we can continue to put these guys in, situations like they're in tonight, we think that's going to help the development to, get them ready for anything that they may see, as they start to, ascend through these levels of minor league baseball.
Who have been some guys that have really stood out to you and some of the other coaches throughout spring training over these last few weeks, kind of leading into the start of the season?
Corey Jackson is one of those guys. He stood out, as an infielder, and Kobe Morales. I mean, of course, Kobe. You see the way he's swinging the bat tonight, and Garrett Morton has been also one of those guys that has had like some, eye piping at bats. When you look at some of the home runs he's hit, of course, he started the game in center field tonight, but we've also moved him to left, where he just gets the chance to kind of, showcase, his versatility in the outfield. But I would definitely say, those three guys have had some really good spring training days for us here in, Kobe Morales, Corey Jackson, and Garrett Morton.
Coop, something that fascinates me about minor league baseball in the Yankees organization is the importance sometimes of actually winning games. As Williams walks and the bases will be loaded here for Jose Perdomo. Minor league baseball, of course, the goal is a lot of times player development, but we just heard Bossy say to us a couple innings ago, you guys want to win this game. Why is that so important when you're in the Yankees organization to establish winning from an early point in these players' careers?
Well, the Yankees do a really good job of getting guys prepared for the next level, especially when you talk about the type of media market that, the Yankees are in. With the scrutiny that, a player can get from, not performing well in a game, it's on social media the next day. So, I do believe like our player development department does a really good job of getting those guys prepared for, failures and then also, life off the field, so to speak.
Got a mound visit here from Dimitri Kokoris with Kyle Carr. But, Coop, it's so interesting when you think about last year. You mentioned kind of trying to make that playoff push against Greensboro the last week in Hudson Valley. How valuable experience in the development do you feel like that was to kind of have that, I don't want to say simulated, but that actual kind of playoff push toward the end of the season where these guys maybe in a couple of years going to be going through that in September in the Bronx?
Yeah, playing in meaningful games is part of, player development. Of course, we didn't make the playoffs, but that last week, every game felt like a playoff game for the guys. So we do believe that's something that they can put in their hat and kind of, hold as a keepsake to say, I've played in some meaningful games throughout my minor league career. And, we think that is a small fraction of something that can get them ready for, playoffs in the Bronx. And, ultimately, it leads to us winning the World Series. So, we would love for all of our come on, George. We would love for all of our – oh, no.
That ball dunks down, and it's going to give the Braves prospects the lead on a bloop single from Jose Perdomo.
Yep. We would love for all of our guys to get a chance to, play in the playoffs at every level, you know, from FCL all the way up to, you know, AAA. It's definitely, you know, a chance, you know, to see those guys do those things.
Coop, last question from us. When it comes to creating that winning formula at the minor league level, we were talking before about this managerial Olympics, and I understand a part of that was a motivational speech that you had to make, and I know that you were the winner of that portion of the managerial Olympics. How did that go? How did you kind of think of a really good speech to get the players and the team all hyped up, hypothetically, of course?
Yeah. Well, it was so my speech was tailored around the Saints winning the Super Bowl in 2010. So the fact that, you know, I actually lived through that, and, you know, and I was a Saints fan, that's a good challenge for our catcher. He's 2 for 2 tonight, by the way. So, you know, the fact that I was able to, you know, actually be a part of that. You know, I was a part of the Saints in the down years, so it was, you know, it was pretty easy for me, since I think I just got a good draw. You know, sometimes in the Daytona 500, like, you just get a good starting point. You know, I had a good starting point, so to speak.
Did you like the onside kick start the second half?
Yeah, since we got it, I loved it. But, you know, I found out later that, you know, there's never been, well, before then, there had never been a onside kick recovered by the kicking team in the Super Bowl right after halftime. So had I known that beforehand, infield fly.
Hartman pops it up. Lombard's got it. Lodi's will not try to tag it third. Coop, here's a question for you. It's pretty straightforward in football. You've got halftime. You've got onside kicks. What would be the baseball equivalent of an onside kick?
Suicide squeeze. I mean,
you didn't even have to think about that.
Yeah, it's a given. Suicide squeeze. You know, it's for you to, you know, it's the sneak attack. You know what I mean? You know, it's a chance to, you know, catch the team off guard, just as well as the onside kick. So I think that's the catch. I mean, that's the. Just drew a blank. I guess that's what's familiar with baseball. If you're looking for a comparison in baseball to football, the onside kick would be the suicide squeeze.
That is the equivalent. Coop, thank you so much for joining us. We hope that the Somerset Patriots 2026 season ends like the 2010 New Orleans Saints one does, with a ring, right?
Absolutely, man. You said it best.
Thanks so much, Coop. Enjoy the rest of the game.
I appreciate it.
Once again, that was James Cooper, the manager coming up of the 2026 Somerset Patriots. As Burgess grounds one off the mound and skips into center field, rolls off Maea's glove. Lodi scores, Williams scores, Perdomo goes first to third, and in at second base, Colin Burgess has a 2-run base hit, and the Braves prospects take a 5-2 lead.
Yeah, just a little unfortunate there for Maea in center field. You heard James Cooper talk about some of the positional movement in this inning. He went from right field into center this frame and just overran it a little bit. Didn't get that far away, but enough for the extra base to be taken there by Burgess, and now a 5-2 lead.
So Aaron Bossie's going to come out to the mound and talk with Kyle Carr here with runners on second and third. It's going to be the end of the line for Kyle Carr. Yankees number 13 prospect couldn't quite navigate through trouble here in the fourth inning.